Hi, welcome to 11:30, the Tiger Podcast. If you're watching this and you might think, oh, well, that guy looks like he's out of it, because I am. It is now 2:20 a.m. in the morning. I waited this long to do the podcast because I was watching the results of the presidential election. Not getting into that, not at all. But what I am going to get into is this week's LSU football preview after the very heartbreaking loss to Alabama, where LSU's defense played phenomenal. LSU's defense played amazing against Alabama. The whole team did in general. The offense just did not produce enough to overcome Alabama. Alabama's defense was just too much for LSU. There were some controversial no calls for both sides of the team. And then there were some, personal foul penalties and everything. But still, LSU could not hold on to beat Alabama. But this week, LSU goes on a little downhill spiral sometimes after they lose to Alabama. But this week is going to be different. This week is going to be a good football game, as the Tigers are also trying to fight for Coach O's spot on as LSU's head coach. But the game against Arkansas, Arkansas comes off of last week with an impressive win over the Florida Gators. Florida is not they're 6-2 now. They weren't, very highly touted. I guess you can say they're 6-2, ranked number 11 in the country. But Arkansas ends up winning 31-10 with a great defensive performance, especially from Shreveport's own Santos Ramirez, who went to Evangel Christian Academy and also Captain Shreve High School in Shreveport. Santos last week against Florida had 5 tackles, 4 solo tackles, and an interception that was a pick 6 to really get the momentum going for the Arkansas Razorbacks, as I believe it was the first play of the game. So LSU's got their hands full going up against a great defense this week in the Razorbacks in Fayetteville. But it's going to be a great game. I will be there live, and I will have a post-game podcast up for you, hopefully that night or the day after. But let's go ahead and get talking about this game coming up. And the X factor, I think, is going to be definitely the run game for LSU's offense with against Arkansas, because Arkansas really held Florida to anything they could, because Florida had 13 first downs in the game. They were 1 for 11 on third down and 0 for 1 on fourth down. They only allowed 241 total yards for the Gator offense. And Luke Del Rio did not have a great football game, 19 for 37 with 229 yards and had 2 interceptions. And again, Santos Ramirez returned 1 for a touchdown. They only had 12 rushing yards on 14 rushing attempts. So hopefully the LSU offensive line will open up the run game for Fournette and Geis. I think both running backs are going to be a huge factor in the game this week. I think they're going to be splitting carries to kind of take the load off of Fournette, but also let Geis, use his abilities, I'll say, with his elusiveness and just to kind of switch it up on the Razorback defense. But another thing is going to be Danny Etling getting the ball off in time. Hopefully the offensive line will, because this is not an Alabama defensive line they're going up against. I'll go ahead and say that right now. Etling will have more time to throw the football. So I think LSU is going to be fine on the offensive side of the ball. The reason I think LSU is going to have a dandy of a day in Fayetteville is because of LSU's rush defense and how well they played against Alabama. And let me pull up the stats right here. The Crimson Tide were highly favored to win that football game, and they only scored 10 points, the least amount of points they've scored since they played in Baton Rouge whenever they lost 9-6. So they gave up LSU gave up 216 rushing yards, which was their downfall, but the quarterback Jalen Hurts for the Crimson Tide had 114 with that basically game-sealing touchdown with in the fourth quarter. But the running backs in general, the highest rusher that was not Jalen Hurts had 53 yards. Bo Scarborough had 52, and then Stewart had 4, and then -3 by Jacobs. And Fournette had 35 yards on 17 carries. So I think with Arkansas, who last week gave Florida's defense a run for their money with 223 rushing yards on 49 rush attempts. So maybe coach for Arkansas, Brett Bielema. Oh gosh, I can't say it. But maybe he's not putting enough confidence into his quarterback, Austin Allen, to where, he threw the ball 26 times for 243 yards for a touchdown and interception against the Gators. But that was a great game played by Arkansas. Florida was a little off. Arkansas was definitely on and came to play and made a statement. So now Arkansas is ranked number 25. And LSU, for some reason, dropped 11 spots after losing to Alabama 10-0. And I got a little rant about that because Texas A&M goes and loses to Mississippi State. Yes, it was an away game, but it's Mississippi State. And just get drove by Fitzpatrick or Fitzgerald, their quarterback, and runs for close to 200 yards. And they were number 4 at the time. Texas A&M drops to number 8 in the playoff rankings. Alabama was 13 and lost to the number 1 team in the country 10-0 and gave Alabama all they could handle. And then they drop all the way down to 24. 11 spots. So, what the hell, playoff committee? Like, you let a team that loses to Mississippi State, you let them drop 4 points, even with their starting quarterback out the rest of the year and their best defensive player getting injured in that game too, you still let them drop to number 8. And I'm not saying LSU should have gone up in the rankings, but LSU definitely didn't deserve to go down 11 spots to number 24 when they played the best team in college football and maybe one of the best defenses in college football history. So something's definitely wrong with this playoff committee and what they're looking at, because I don't know if they watched the game or not. Because if they did, they saw the way LSU's defense played against Alabama in the first 3 quarters. There's no way they'd be number 24 in the country. I'll tell you that right now. And like I said, I think LSU is on a mission. I think the players love Coach Orgeron. The fans love Coach Orgeron. So with that being said, I think LSU still has something to play for. They have to keep Coach Orgeron in Baton Rouge. So I think the players are going to go out and they're going to show out. I think they go to Arkansas, they go into Fayetteville, and they let the fans cheer Pig Suey all they want. And I think LSU will come out of Fayetteville with a victory. And I think it's going to be on the legs of Fournette and Geis. And I think the defense is going to hold its own against Jared Cornelius, the Shreveport native. I think the secondary is going to shut the Arkansas passing game down. I think the run game is going to be their only hope. But the way it looked like with the running backs for Alabama, if they try to do what Alabama did, it's not going to work out well for the Razorbacks. Because Jamal Adams and Tre'Davious White will be right there to stop them. Arden Key had a hell of a football game against Alabama. I got a good feeling coming into this game. And you have Coach Orgeron, who's also, he really wants the job. This is his dream job. He's from Louisiana, and this has been his dream job his whole life. So you have him coaching against Brett Bielema. So I'm going to take Coach O in that regard. I think LSU has too much to lose, but Arkansas will put up a fight because Arkansas has something to prove themselves. They are not a bad football team. They came in this week really highly touted. This year highly touted, pretty hyped up, thinking that last year that they were really great. They had a great offensive line. They had a good defense. But the little brother of Brandon Allen is not as good as Brandon Allen, at least. Austin Allen will get there maybe, but we'll see how that goes. But the LSU Tigers are playing at 6 p.m., I believe. They are playing 6 p.m. Central Time against Arkansas on ESPN, primetime football game. So y'all get ready to watch a pretty good football game and just watch, I think, Fournette go crazy in Fayetteville. I think Geis is going to have a heck of a football game, And I think Tiger Nation's going to be pretty happy Saturday night, I believe. We're going to get our spirits lifted up from that Alabama game. And so, as always, go Tigers. God bless.